If you go through the recent history of college basketball, you know that certain programs have left their imprint on the game more than others. North Carolina, Kansas, Villanova, Duke, and UConn have all won multiple national championships in the last 15 years and have really become some of the banner programs in the modern era. But one school that isn't on that list has arguably left the biggest impact on basketball as a whole over that same time period. And if you need a hint, here are some names that'll help you out. John Wall, Devin Booker, De'Aaron Fox, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Tyler Hero, Tyrese Maxey. These are just some of the players that have become incredibly high-level guards at the NBA level, and the one thing they all have in common?
The University of Kentucky.
That's right, they all went to the University of Kentucky and played for head coach John Calipari. In fact, since he took over in 2009, Calipari, for all the hate he's gotten for generally not having his teams live up to their recruiting rankings, has kinda dominated the NBA. In his 15 years in Lexington, Coach Cal has gotten a whopping 46 players drafted, and his impact has been so great that ESPN even made a 30 for 30 on his NBA footprint back in 2017. 17 out of the NBA's 30 teams feature at least one Calipari-coached player, and while a lot of them were considered can't-miss prospects in Lexington, like Anthony Davis and Karl Anthony Towns, many of them have actually done better in the NBA than what they showed in college, specifically the guards. Guys like Devin Booker and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander have become all-NBA level players despite being taken outside the top 10 in their respective drafts, and even others like Tyrese Maxey and Emmanuel Quickley have well exceeded their draft positions after being taken 21st and 25th in the 2020 NBA draft respectively. And as we draw closer to the 2023 draft, we have yet another Kentucky guard set to be selected in the first round, but I still think he's being underrated by the consensus. And given what we know about Kentucky guards, I think that would be a massive mistake. His name is Cason Wallace, and he's gonna be the steal of the NBA draft. A theme of this Calipari guard trend is that considering their NBA success, a lot of the guards Kentucky has produced weren't superstars in college, perhaps much to the chagrin of Kentucky fans. Devin Booker, who is a legitimate top 10 player in the NBA, only averaged 21.5 minutes a game on that loaded 2015 Kentucky team. Tyrese Maxey, who is averaging 20 points a game this season and is a career 41% three-point shooter in the NBA, only shot 29% from three at Kentucky. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was good at Kentucky, but I don't think anyone saw him averaging 31.5 points per game and being named first-team All-NBA by his 5th season in the league. None of these guys screamed star at Kentucky, and you can make the case that Cason Wallace doesn't either. In his 32 games in Lexington this year, Cason averaged a modest 11.7 points a game on 45, 34, 76 shooting splits, in addition to dishing out 4 assists and grabbing 2 steals a game as well. These aren't jaw-dropping numbers by any means, and as a result, I think there's been a false ceiling attached to Cason Wallace that simply isn't true. If you read scouting reports on Cason, you'll find the same general set of terms and phrases to describe him. A complimentary piece, might not be a star, lacks the go-to scoring upside, a table setter for a bench lineup, and while nearly every scouting report you'll read will affirm the belief that Wallace is a longtime NBA player, none of them really seem to make the jump from that to NBA All-Star. But I am ready to make that leap. So let's learn more about Cason Wallace, and I'll show you why he's being severely underrated. To start, Wallace is just an unbelievably sturdy 6'4" combo guard who projects nicely as a player with two-way impact. He's a heady and composed player who makes really good decisions with the basketball, and just doesn't really have any major holes in his game. Defensively is where Wallace stands out the most. He's hyper-aware off the ball, and his elite anticipation helped him post a steal rate of 3.7%, which was good for 3rd in the country among major conference freshmen. Watch here how he avoids the screen and then sticks with Nolan Hickman before ultimately just snatching the ball for a steal. As a defender, Wallace does all the little things at an exceptional level. He'll bump cutters early, he'll get deflections, he'll fight over screens, he'll dig down and tag the roll man. Ignore the absolutely horrendous camera angle here and watch how much ground Wallace covers before knocking the ball away from AJ Hoggard and then diving on the floor to secure the loose ball. His closeouts are also awesome as he can sprint out to shooters and still be perfectly on balance with his hands up, being ready to contest the shot. On the ball, Wallace is similarly effective. He's very comfortable guarding with his chest and doesn't rely on reaching in, and when he does reach in, he times it really well and can often poke the ball away or just steal it altogether. He also has very good core strength for someone his size, so guards have a really difficult time gaining separation from him. Thanks to his overall movement, doggedness, and strength, Wallace projects as one of the best point-of-attack defenders in the NBA. The only real downside with his defense is his size and relative stiffness. I think he's capable of pretty much guarding guarding anyone on the perimeter, but still at 6'4", he's not as typically versatile as you'd like. He does have a 6'6" wingspan though, so that gives him a little bit of leeway on bigger guys. In terms of his flexibility, he just isn't as bendy or as dexterous as you'd like, and he can sometimes struggle when he has to chase shooters around screens, as he doesn't have the quickest movement patterns in terms of flipping his hips. But again, he's so good instinctually that it doesn't burn him that often. Offensively, Cason also has some real versatility. At Kentucky, he spent the season playing both on and off the ball, and I think he showed NBA level effectiveness in both roles. Off the ball, he's a quality spot-up shooter with really good form and balance, as there's no wasted movement in his shot. And while he only shot 34% from 3 on the season, I have no concerns projecting his 3-point shot moving forward. He shot a scorching 48% on corner threes this year, and he was hitting 42% of his overall threes before injuring his back against South Carolina in mid-January, which hindered him the second half of the season. He's also someone that I trust attacking closeouts off the catch too, as he finished around 78% of his attempts at the rim, which is an absolutely insane number for a guard, and while he doesn't have the quickest first step, he has a really underrated acceleration ability that allows him to get to the basket with power and then finish through contact. His core strength also comes into play here as well, and he's a decent enough athlete to challenge bigger rim protectors too. Perhaps some of the ceiling talk with Wallace has come due to the fact that he hasn't shown much of an off-the-dribble game in terms of jump shooting. Wallace is much more comfortable shooting off the catch, and while he doesn't have a bad handle, he didn't really show a lot of self-creation from the perimeter throughout the year. Still, even if that never develops, I think he does enough well already to be a solid scorer in the NBA. Wallace also ran a lot of point guard at Kentucky, and I thought he showed a general capability to do it at a high level. He's not the most creative or incisive passer, but he showed great touch when it came to hitting the roll man out of ball screens and entering it into the post as someone who can just make the right play at the right time. He reads and recognizes opportunities at a high level, and his 4 assists per game and 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio gives me hope that he can be a legitimate point guard in the NBA. He also really thrives as an advanced passer, as so many times throughout a game you'll see Wallace grab a rebound and then immediately fire the ball up the floor to a teammate who's in a good position to run the break. These passes remind me of Lonzo Ball in this regard, as Wallace always has his eyes up and is looking to push, and the ball rarely sticks with him in control. So, Cason Wallace is a two-way guard who plays elite defense and has shown promise at either guard spot, yet he still is already being cast as a role player in the NBA. And while there's nothing wrong with that,
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I think we could be shooting a little higher with Wallace, and if the draft were today, I really wouldn't have an issue taking him as high as 5th overall, pending team fit. In conclusion, Wallace just does too many things well to not be, at worst, a solid NBA player. And while the general feeling around him is that he lacks upside, I think that criticism is limiting to someone who is frankly just a really good player. And it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him in at least a few All-Star games during his career. Thanks so much for watching, and give me your thoughts below.